Recording in progress.
Welcome to the Louisville, Colorado City Council meeting of Tuesday, June 6, 2023. We have a roll call, please.
Mayor Maloney?
Here.
Councilmember Lay?
Here.
Councilmember Most? Councilmember Dickinson?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Fahey?
Here.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Here.
Councilmember Hefner?
Here.
Thank you very much. Would everybody rise and do the Pledge of Allegiance with me, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Next, we'll move on to approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Next is public comments on items not on the agenda and items on the consent agenda. This is a chance for anyone to speak on any item not on the agenda or items on the consent agenda. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Please tell us your name and if you're a Louisville resident. And first up, we have Eric Lund.
Making this a regular thing, right? Honorable Mayor, council members, and staff, my name is Eric Lund, 901 Main Street, Louisville, Colorado. And as the executive director of the Louisville Chamber of Commerce, I would like to thank the council, our staff, Public Works, clerk's office, police department, the fire department, for all supporting the annual Taste of Louisville event that took place during the month of May, as well as on June 2nd and 3rd this past weekend on Main Street. We set new records in many different ways. We had a sold-out event on Friday evening with 200 community members, enjoying dinner on Main Street. We had 300 runners this year in our 5K, fun run and dog jog. Plus we had 40 dogs, so that was really great. And we had, on Saturday morning, we had about 40 vendors on the street, so that was great because people could enjoy that. We had an art show. We worked with the farmers market, and they had a whole bunch of booths, of course, for the opening of the farmers market this year. And overall, really great. We had a main stage just down the street, and we had live entertainment there, a spaghetti eating contest, all kinds of great fun things. In the Steinbach Pavilion, of course, the farmers market had entertainment, but then we kind of extended it, and the chamber helped by adding a dance group from a dance school here in Louisville who performed and did a great job with kids as young as, I think, 5 years old up to 18 years old. So we did have great weather on Friday. Saturday morning was really good, and then, of course, it kind of rained a little bit for the rest of the day until the afternoon when it did clear up, and so we ended the event with some really great weather. I just want to say we had so many wonderful volunteers, board members from our chamber, as well as city staff, business people, volunteer residents that all came together and all helped to work to make the Taste of Louisville this year a success. So I just want to thank all of them so much because without all of their help, it really wouldn't have been the same. And it took a village to make this thing work, and it was really great. So I want to thank everybody who attended, participated, and helped, including our sponsors and vendors, as well as restaurants. And thank you from the Louisville Chamber of Commerce team and from our board of directors. I think we should all be proud of our business community, our local residents, and all the visitors that came in. Thank you, everybody. We really appreciate it. And let's look forward to next year, making it bigger, better, and even greater. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Eric. Is there anybody else here to make public comments on items not on the agenda or on Zoom? All right, seeing none, we will move on. Next is the consent agenda. I'm going to make a motion that we move item C, approval of proclamation observing Juneteenth National Independence Day, we'll move it to right after A, make it A1, something like that. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion or other motions? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Next up on the agenda is council informational comments on pertinent items not on the agenda. Do any councilors have any pertinent items? Councilor Lay?
Yeah, maybe just a bookend to Eric Lund's comment. I think a number of you went to the dinner on Friday night, particularly, and participated in other events on the weekend. But the Friday night dinner was just really, just a great event. It's just it was such an odd thing in a good way to see a big table or set of tables just running down Main Street and seeing a lot of very serious Chamber of Commerce volunteers getting dinner for everybody and the kids and so forth. Really great event. And thanks for what that contributed to. I think the hometown feel that we have here is just wonderful. So thanks a lot to all of the people who did that, participated.
Thank you. Any other councilors with comments? All right. All right, we're off to the next item, which is the city manager's report, and I know he's going to introduce a few new employees tonight.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. First of all, I'll let you let the anticipation build on that for a second. I want to let you know for candidate information, residents interested in running for council next Monday, June 12th at 6:30 p.m. here at City Hall. We're hosting a forum for people interested in running for city council. It's just informational, not about how to get elected, but how to apply and what might be involved and those type of things. So hopefully we have some good interest in that. Also next week, I want to point out Street Fair starts on June 16th, so look forward to that as well. And then lastly, I'm very pleased to introduce our two newest director level employees. Over my left, Paulina Bennett is our new IT director. She comes to us from Larimer County. She's been here 6, I think, days now. And on my right, Rafael Gutierrez has also been here for 6 days. Rafael is our new police chief. I'd like to welcome them and look forward to working with them. Thank you, Mayor.
All of 6 days. Welcome to the city of Louisville. It's wonderful to have you here. All right, so we'll move on to regular business. The first item A, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transistor, and queer plus month proclamation. And Councilor Hamilton will read the proclamation for us.
Thank you. Before I start, I have a few words and an announcement about an event that our EDI manager, Monet, is hosting. And she also put together these words that I wanted to start with before I read the proclamation today. So across the United States and in other countries, the trans and non-binary community have faced relentless and escalating attacks, including many instances of anti-LGBTQ legislation that will significantly impact their health, safety, and well-being. Whether you display the pride flag, wear the lanyard, or pronoun pins, you are indicating to those who identify as LGBTQ that they are welcomed, supported, and safe. In addition to visibly supporting a culture of inclusiveness and acceptance, we as a city should hold ourselves accountable to living that through our behaviors and interactions. Our support and recognition for Pride Month actually continues year-round. And so the event that Monet has coordinated, and I myself have signed up for, I'm very excited for it. It's on June 19th at 6 p.m. It is via a Zoom meeting. You can sign up for that on the city's website, or you can contact Monet or myself. I'm happy to direct you in the right direction. And that is an event where panelists will discuss what it means to be LGBTQ in our current moment in history and learn from their experiences. So with that, I would like to read the proclamation. This is the Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender, and Queer Plus Pride Month Proclamation for June 2023. Whereas Pride Month celebrations include those who identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, non-binary, pansexual, asexual, as well as heterosexual and cisgender allies. Whereas in the movement towards equal rights for lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people, a historic turning point occurred in the early hours of June 28, 1969, in New York City, with the onset of the Stonewall riots, which served as a catalyst for the gay rights movement in the United States and around the world. Whereas this month and every month, the city of Louisville stands with the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer plus community members as they declare pride, dignity, equality for those who are, for who they are and whom they love. Whereas this nation was founded on the principle that all people have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness under the protection of the law, and whereas the rainbow flag is an emblem of hope, unity, diversity, and support for LGBTQ affirming spaces, agencies, and individual allies, and whereas the city of Louisville is committed to supporting the visibility, dignity, and equality for LGBTQ residents in our community who contribute to the cultural, civic, and economic success of the city. Whereas society learns to embrace evolving definitions of sexuality and gender, we acknowledge how the need for education, spreading awareness, and dialogue remains vital in our current moment in history. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council hereby proclaims the month of June 2023 as Pride Month in support of the LGBTQ community. Be it further resolved that the rainbow pride flag will be raised on this day, June 6th, recognizing all LGBTQ residents whose influential and lasting contributions make Louisville an inclusive community in which to live, work, and visit. The City of Louisville celebrates the resiliency and ongoing contributions of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer plus communities, and reaffirms the city's dedication to collectively work in building a safe and inclusive society that values all people. I would like to make a motion that we declare June 2023 lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer plus Pride Month.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you very much. Is there any public comment on this? Seeing no public comments, we'll take a voice vote. So if you're in support, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Councilor Hamilton. Next up, we have the item we moved from the consent agenda C, approval of the proclamation observing Juneteenth National Independence Day, and Councilor Leah will be reading that proclamation.
Thank you, Mayor. Renee Miles had put together some words to introduce this, and I'll read those as well as the proclamation. In 2021, President Biden designated Juneteenth as a federal holiday, and on May 2nd, 2022, Governor Polis signed a bill making Juneteenth an official colored state holiday. Juneteenth, federally recognized as Juneteenth National Independence Day, commemorates the day that the final enslaved Americans were made aware of the effect of the Emancipation Proclamation. Juneteenth, commonly known as Jubilee Day, Freedom Day, and Emancipation Day, marks our country's second Independence Day and commemorates the end of slavery in the United States. So with that, I'll read the proclamation. It is entitled A Proclamation Observing Juneteenth National Independence Day. Whereas Juneteenth is the oldest celebration of the emancipation of enslaved Black Americans and is so named after the events that took place on June 19th, 1865 in Galveston, Texas, and Whereas on June 19th, 1865, Union soldiers, led by Major General Gordon Granger, informed enslaved people in Galveston, Texas, of their freedom and that the Civil War had ended. Whereas news of the end of slavery did not reach the frontier areas of the United States for more than 2 years after President Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation of January 1st, 1863, and months after the conclusion of the Civil War. And whereas Juneteenth, also known as Juneteenth Independence Day, Freedom Day, or Emancipation Day, is an example of America's commitment to liberty and is celebrated and remembered as the end of chattel slavery in the United States. And whereas many Black Americans continue the tradition of celebrating Juneteenth as inspiration, and for more than 155 years, Juneteenth Day offers pause for joy, happiness, and nourishment for the community. And whereas Juneteenth reminds us of Black resiliency, struggle, and hope, and encourages future generations to continue the ongoing fight for freedom, equality, and dignity. And whereas Opal Lee, also known as grandmother of Juneteenth, walked 2.5 miles each day from her home in Fort Worth, Texas to Washington, D.C. in an effort to get Congress to adopt and make Juneteenth as the 11th federal holiday in 2021, and was a monumental achievement. And whereas on June 17th, 2021, President Joseph R. Biden signed the Juneteenth National Independence Day Act, which officially recognized Juneteenth Day of observance, making June 19th a federal holiday. And whereas on May 2nd, 2022, Colorado Governor Jared Polis signed a bill establishing Juneteenth as an official Colorado state holiday. Now, therefore, be it resolved that by the city of Louisville that we recognize the historical significance of Juneteenth this year and every year, support the continued celebration of Juneteenth to provide an opportunity for the people of the city of Louisville to engage more with the past, to better understand the lived experiences of all who have shaped the nation, and encourage the people of the city of Louisville to observe Juneteenth Day with appropriate ceremonies, activities, and programs. And the faith and strength of character of Black American remains an example for all people of the United States, regardless of background, religion, or race. And the city of Louisville recognizes, adopts, and proclaims this proclamation to underscore the freedom with dignity of every human being. As a governmental body, we oppose and reject any form of oppression and pledge to support our residents and local entities working to achieve equality and protect human rights. Dated this day, the 6th day of June, 2023. And I'd like to make a motion with that.
We have a second?
Oh, I was going to make a motion.
Oh, I thought you said you made a
Oh,
motion.
no,
Oh, please.
what I was
Please
what I
make a
was
motion.
going to do is move to recognize and adopt and proclaim this proclamation.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any public comment on this item?
Can I?
Yes, you may.
In addition to the Juneteenth proclamation, we're also going to be doing a community film screening of a documentary called I Am Not Your Negro, and that is going to be June 15th from 6 to 8. There will be sort of a information about Juneteenth to start before we start the movie, and then there'll be a community discussion afterwards. So if you're interested, please let me know or check out our website, Louisville website, under Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Thank you.
And where will that be? Where's the screening?
the library on the first floor.
Thank you. Let's see, I don't see any public comments, so we have a motion and a second, so all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Next, we're going to move on to item B on the regular agenda, 929 Parkview Street. We have three resolutions on this item, so I'll read all three resolutions, but we will deal with them all at the same time, but we will take three separate votes. So the first resolution is number 33, Series 2023, a resolution recommending approval of a landmark designation for historical residential property located at 929 Parkview Street. The second resolution is resolution number 34, Series 2023, a resolution approving a preservation and restoration grant for the Madonna Homestead at 929 Parkview. And then the third resolution is resolution number 35, Series 2023, a resolution approving a preservation and restoration loan for the Madonna Homestead at 929 Parkview. But before we jump into that, we have a staff report.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Thank you, council members. Yes, so I'll just jump right into it. I'll start with the landmark. So this house on this property was built in 1952, making it 71 years old. Its architectural style is the minimal ranch style, which you can see up in that inset picture up in the center of the screen. It has a close association, or really its whole history is associated with the Madonna family, in which you read a lot about them in your report. And then their location and the form of the structure is maintained. As you can see between these two photos, the siding and ornamentation has changed. But it does, of course, meet architectural, social significance, and also physical integrity. And then just moving right along to the grant request. So there is a grant request for $51,974. This would be a matching grant, as all of our grants are. And the HPC, the Historic Preservation Commission, recently approved the restoration work under an alteration certificate. So some of this work is to restore and make the house a little bit more habitable, and some of it is to restore it back to kind of what you saw in that black and white photo. And HPC have reviewed that and approved it. And then this is a bit above the top, the maximum amount of $40,000, which is what our preservation and restoration grants cap out at for residential properties. But we do have the extraordinary circumstances criteria that you all are welcome to work with to approve requests above that amount. And so the three requests that staff identified as being relevant to that were the piers to support the crawl space foundation, the LVL structural beams, and the egress basement windows, all relate to the condition of the foundation or to making the older home habitable and updating it per code regulations. Then the final request is that same amount, but in a loan, which basically covers the matching portion of the grant. The applicant has qualified per the Impact Development Fund. That's the group that actually manages the loan for the city, for a 20-year loan at an interest rate of 5.75%. The portfolio balance is there up on the screen, and your staff report also had more information about the criteria for loans specifically, but as you can see, it's very similar to the grant where we have to go through and make sure that all of the work requested is eligible, and staff finds that it is. So with that, staff is recommending approval for all three of these resolutions. That would be Resolution 33, which would approve the landmark and name it the Madonna Homestead. Resolution 34, which would approve the grant request up to $51,974, and then a recommendation for approval or approving the loan under Resolution 35, Series 2023 for that same amount as well. So I'm happy to have any questions, and then the applicant is also here if you have questions for him.
Thank you. I just did a misstep here. I didn't ask my colleagues if they had any disclosures on this item. No, that's good. Do you have any questions for staff on this application or this any one of the resolutions? What was your name again?
It's Kalibu.
Counselor Dickinson.
Yeah.
Nice to have you back.
Thanks. Just curious, to your knowledge, have we ever done this grant and loan at the same time? I think it's, actually, I think
don't-
it's quite brilliant, but I don't know if we've ever done this before.
So there's been one other loan. In
I'm
addition to
familiar
yours.
with that one.
Right. Well, so in addition to the one for the hospital, and I don't know if that was the same time, but
Yeah, we've done a grant and a loan for the same property, but it wasn't in the structure to match the grant.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think it's just interesting. I didn't think we had done that. For full disclosure, I restored a historic home myself, and did the grant, and later came back and said, I'm also out of money, could really use some more money as a loan, took out a loan and paid that loan back. And so they were separate, but this is a really interesting way to accomplish these big projects and use the full force of the resources we have. So I just didn't know if we had done this before, but I like the mechanism, so thank you.
Any other questions? Does the applicant have a presentation or want to say anything?
Gordon Madonna, live here in Louisville, been here for 69 years. And you have the history already, so I'm not gonna go into that. I just wanted to thank the council, Amelia, Rob, and the city staff for all their help in this matter. And it's just one way of preserving what's left of Louisville. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody have questions for the applicants? I guess I don't want to put you on the spot. Thank you very
Okay,
much.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, we're going to go to public comments. Do we have any public comment on this particular item? Anybody out in Zoom world? All right, seeing no public comment, we'll go to council comments and questions. Are you raising your hand? Mayor Pro Tem Fahey?
Thank you very much. I just want to acknowledge how wonderful it is to see another home in Louisville being landmarked, especially one where it's a family home, has been owned by the family for, I know you said 71 years, but it's been longer than that. And I would like to, if there's no other comments, I would like to approve resolutions 33, 2023, 34, 2023, and 35, 2023.
So we're going to vote those one at a time, but you made a
Okay.
motion to approve all three resolutions?
I did indeed.
Okay, I assume that's okay. All right, any seconds on those?
Second.
Did you do 3 seconds?
Second.
Okay, good. Any other comments?
I'll just, before we vote, I will just say that, yeah, this is a really important program that we have. I'm really happy you guys are going through this. $100,000 is a lot of money, and it won't cover everything, I'm sure, that you're doing. And also just keeping in mind, an important thing for all of us to understand and staff to understand that $51,000 grant is income to you. So also remember that you have to pay taxes on that. That was a big surprise to me, but you don't get every penny of that because it is considered income. But there are also amazing tax benefits for doing these kind of projects. So you can find that money back when you actually get through this process and spend that money. You can get state taxes back. So that's just kind of a little education piece from my experience. But thank you so much for putting in the time, the effort, and the money, and caring enough to keep this property for another 71 years. But other than that, I'm obviously definitely in support.
Thank you. Then we have Councilor Lay and then Councilor Hamilton.
I want to echo the appreciation that I have. It's nice to see the Madonna family in chambers and really appreciate the amazing contribution that the family's made to the city and the life of our town. And I am really pleased that we're going to be doing this designation momentarily. Also, just want to say that through the review of the criteria that I find that the staff report states all the criteria have been met, and I want to at least confirm that. But thank you for making use of this program as well as you have, and thanks to staff for making it happen too.
Councilor Hamilton?
I'll echo what everyone else said and also comment that I greatly appreciate you doing this. Like Councilmember Dickinson, I also landmark my home as well here in Louisville, and it is no small task logistically, financially, time-wise. So thank you for your investment in maintaining the charm of our community. Much appreciated.
So I'm going to make a couple of comments. Thank you. You know, I think that when this program was created, you probably know 2008 or whatever the time frame was. I was wondering, as somebody who voted for it, what it really meant. And now being on council and seeing the impact that I believe this program is incentivizing people, you know, providing, you know, help, loans, whatever it takes, is the right approach, I believe. I believe there's other municipalities who force things, and I think this is an incentive program that everybody's happy with, and I know it's a lot of work on behalf of staff, excellent staff report. You know, and the HPC reviewed it, you know, unanimous vote there, and you're going to get a unanimous vote from council here. And this is the intention of this program, and so, you know, with that, unless there's other comments, I think we're ready to take votes. So we will first vote on resolution number 33, series 2023, a resolution recommending approval of landmark designation for historic residential property located at 929 Parkview Street. We have a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Lay,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Fahey,
Yes.
Councilmember Hefner,
Yes.
Councilmember Dickinson,
Yes.
Mayor Maloney,
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton.
Yes.
Next, we'll do resolution number 34, series 2023, a resolution approving a preservation and restoration grant for the Madonna Homestead at 929 Parkview. Roll call vote, please.
Mayor Maloney,
Yes.
Councilmember Dickinson,
Yes.
Councilmember Lay,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Fahey,
Yes.
Councilmember Hefner,
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton.
Yes.
And lastly, resolution number 35, series 2023, a resolution approving a preservation and restoration loan for the Madonna Homestead at 929 Parkview.
Councilmember Hamilton,
Yes.
Councilmember Lay,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Fahey,
Yes.
Councilmember Hefner,
Yes.
Mayor Maloney,
Yes.
Councilmember Dickinson.
Yes.
All right, all three of those passed unanimously, so congratulations. Next, we'll move on to regular business C, 1209 Main Street. A resolution number 36, series 2023, a resolution recommending for approval a landmark designation for historical residential property located at 1209 Main Street. And resolution number 37, series 2023, a resolution approving the Nicholas, I don't know how, the Giacomo addition, replat B, a minor subdivision to replat lots 3, 4, 5, 6, block 1 of the Nicholas Giacomo addition to create 2 lots. I messed that up too, didn't I? All right, do we have any disclosures on these? All right, with that, we'll open the public hearing and ask for a staff presentation. Welcome back.
Thank you. I know it's been a long time. And my Midwestern comes out whenever I try to say that name, so it's better for all of us if I avoid it. But yes, this is 1209 Main Street, 2 resolutions before you. So the first is an application for a landmark. The structure on this property was built in 1909, making it 113 years old. It displays a craftsman-style bungalow architectural style. It's a Main Street location and a strong history association with the Kalachi family. Well, I'm sure you're all familiar. And also a number of different kind of displays the way that people kind of pulled lots of different economic pieces and threads together. So coal mining, bootlegging, restaurant industry, small-scale poultry raising, that's one family doing all of that. Some of it really at the same time in the same spot. The size and the form has been maintained. There have been some changes to the exterior materials, as you can see by comparing those two photos. And then I also just wanted to take the opportunity to describe a little bit more about why this is coming to you as a package. So this actually first came before the Historic Preservation Commission as a full scrape of the property. That's what was proposed. As you probably know, we have a demolition review process for buildings that were built in 1955 or before. And so at that time, the property owner and the applicant had proposed to put up a fourplex on the property because that's what's allowed per zoning at least. That was sort of their general idea, but that was the request was to scrape the property. The HPC, based on all of the information that you all reviewed as well, placed a full stay of 180 days. And the goal was really to find creative solutions, work with the property owner and the applicant to try to figure out if there's a way to protect this house with its strong architectural and especially its strong social history and its main street location as well. So after that meeting, staff and a subcommittee of the HPC and the property owner, the now applicant, all worked together to try to come up with something that would work for everybody, and ideally after the HPC had expressed interest. And so that's really where this came from, and that's why it's coming to you as a landmark and a subdivision. It's sort of that attempt to figure out a way if there's a possibility to save this house and sort of what works. And then I also just want to note that in the subdivision criteria we talk a little bit about historic buildings, and in this case it's not just that it's old, it's that it does have significance to the community based on the fact that it has this prominent location, its strong association with the Colacci family. It's one of the oldest Italian families, and it has a strong connection to so many parts of Louisville's history. So just to note that word carries more meaning than just age, and that's sort of supported both by the HPC's recommendation of a stay and of the landmark, and then also of all the research that staff undertook in this process as well. So with that, staff is recommending approval of the resolution to landmark this property. It's Resolution 36, and this would be would landmark if the subdivision were to go through the way the resolution's written, would apply just to the south lot. And so it would also be proposing to name it the Colacci House. So then to get into the subdivision, the proposal is to take what's currently one lot and divide it into two lots, and then to add a utility easement. So you can see the yellow is the current, and then the red would be the proposed lot line. Staff analysis found that there were 4 requests for modifications that would come with this. So the first 2 relate to the lot widths on both properties, and then 1 relates to the lot size of the northern lot, and then the last relates to the lot, the depth of the lot, basically. So all 4 of those modifications, I'm happy to talk more about them, but those are the 4 that would be required in order to approve this. And staff finds that this conforms with all of the requirements that the plat requirements, Title 16 and Title 17, and in general that the modifications support the comprehensive plan and the preservation master plan. Both contemplate preservation of historic buildings. There is a reduction in density. There's not a requirement to reduce density in a subdivision, but there is a requirement not to increase density. And so this would be taking what's possible from a zoning perspective from 4 units down to 3, just to note that as well. Also, in terms of the requirement to the criteria for maintaining character. So even though this is a change from what's there now, you can see from even this screenshot, and there's the table that was in your staff report as well, that this would take the lot sizes and lot configurations back to sort of what's there in the neighborhood in the sort of block overall, and reflect the plat as well. And then also finally, this was not something that was created by the applicant, because the house has been there for a lot longer than the applicant's even been alive. So not necessarily a situation created by them. So staff is recommending approval of Resolution 37, Series 2023, which would approve this replat B along with the subdivision agreement. And here are the recommendations of approval for both resolutions. Happy to take any questions.
Questions on the presentation? Did you raise your hand? Oh, okay. Mayor Pro Tem Fahey.
Thank you, Mayor. My question is, if the division happens, there is the large double garage on the back of what would be alone on the lot then with the driveway. Would that be is that historic, that structure itself, or is that new enough that that wouldn't be covered under the historic preservation portion?
Right, exactly. I don't remember off the top of my head. I think it's probably the 70s or 80s that it was added, but it's not historic. And when we went through the original requests for the demo and landmark, HBC did discuss that. And so in effect, what would happen here is only the south property would be landmarked anyway, and so they could do what they wanted without touching the garage, especially because, like I said, it's not old enough to be triggered for a separate demolition review.
Okay, thank you.
Counselor Dickinson?
So the, excuse me, the northern lot would still be eligible for what sounds like a duplex, but not a so the whole larger lot was potentially eligible for a fourplex, and this is trying to take the southern lot, make it one smaller lot for the home that exists, and take the northern lot, if we subdivide it, and let that one be available for what is otherwise allowed, which is not, it's not a new, we're not trying to create a new allowance for that lot, just when we split, the northern lot would be allowed to do X, and X would include a duplex.
Okay, so let me see if I'm getting this right. So I think it's actually the reverse. So the southern lot is the larger one, and the reason, I'll bring it up on the screen, the reason that it's divided that way, with the southern being 7,000 and change, it's actually to accommodate, just to create a straight line, but also to accommodate the historic house and make sure that that side of it is meeting setbacks and sort of is working per zoning. So it's technically the southern lot that they would be able to add some type of second unit on. That's not based on like a full zoning analysis. That's simply based on the surveyed lot size, which is greater than the minimum for dwelling is 3,500, and it's almost 8,000. So that's where we're getting that they could have two theoretically on the bottom. It's not what's being proposed right now. But then on the top, because it's under 7,000, it would only be able to have one.
So that is confusing. So the lot with the historic building is the one that would be able to have a second building.
Yep.
But the lot that's empty or can't have a second building.
Yeah, so, and again, that's just strictly from this lot size that would be
Right.
created by this proposal. The applicant hasn't proposed to put a second dwelling on that southern, and also functionally you're very familiar with the landmark requirements and restrictions. I don't know that it would be possible that they could meet setbacks or anything like that.
Right.
It's strictly from the sizing. And again, that just like the reason that it was divided in that way was to accommodate the historic home on the south.
Yeah, I guess you were saying it was going from like 4 properties to 3, but is it actually going to 3 or is it going to 2? Like, is it more likely that it's going to 2, or like potentially 3, but likely 2? Or we're just trying to understand what
I think it's fair to say 4 to 2 is a more realistic development potential, but I think we're just using the lot size. We haven't seen something like a spin, so I don't know if that answers your question, but.
Yeah, and I would just add, we do see, kind of alley-loaded, kind of in-law quarter type units in this part of town, or even like a basement unit is something that you could put in under the zoning without doing additional development. And I would add that if you did put a addition or second structure on that southern lot, it would be subject to the alteration certificate requirements. So HPC would do design review.
Right. Okay. I appreciate it.
So is there an applicant that has presentation or?
Yes, the applicant is online.
Oh,
Can you guys hear me?
yes. Hello.
Sorry, I'm not there. Can you still hear me? Sorry,
Yes, we can hear you, Vincent.
Oh, great. No, I'm sorry, not there. Appreciate all that Amelia's put into this. I think it was just an interesting thing that happened when the stay got put on. It was kind of a bummer. And then we learned more about what we could do. And I live in original town Superior, and we're back here now. And we lost a lot of history over here. So to be able to save a house, but yet do something where we can still turn a dollar, right, is what we're trying to do, is a really cool thing. It's really a win-win. And I just wanted to state that this will go from 4 to 2. So the current house, we're just going to keep historic, put a garage in the back, and that will be a home for someone or a rental for us. And then on the other lot, because it's less than 7,000, we can only do a single family home. So that's our intention. That's all we can do with the lot that's being created. And I think it's good for Old Town for sure. So just want to say thanks again to Amelia, thanks to council, and I hope this goes through.
All right, thank you for being with us. So we'll go to public comment. Is there anyone in the chambers who'd like to make comments? All right, so we have anybody on Zoom who'd like to make comments? All right, seeing no public comments, we'll move on to council comments, questions, motions. Councilor Hamilton.
Thank you. Similar to my last comments, I wanted to express my gratitude to the applicant for navigating this process alongside Amelia in the city. I can only imagine how challenging it was to have these unforeseen circumstances pop up. But it sounds like we were able to beautifully navigate this together, and I'm grateful for that. And I also just wanted to comment that I appreciate the history that's put together on these. It is extensive but fascinating, and it changes my perspective when I'm walking and biking around town, and also visiting our museum this past weekend over the Taste of Louisville. It only increased my appreciation for the history of these structures and maintaining them as much as possible. So thank you to staff and also the applicant as well. We appreciate you hopping on tonight, Vincent.
Thank you. Councilor Lay?
Yeah, I'll echo that comment about the appreciation that we have for participation in this process. As I look at the history, this is sort of a little bit, it kind of goes a little bit off of what you've just said. One of the many reasons I love Louisville was because I'm about a quarter Sicilian. And I very much appreciate the history of the earlier part of the century in which Italians and many other ethnic minorities were reviled, particularly by the KKK, which was very, very active, and it was very active in my hometown of Sterling. My uncle remembered a big parade there and show of force, and that happened up here too. I think there's, if you look, anybody cares to look at the article on the arrest of Jim Kalachi for bootlegging. I'm not going to necessarily condone bootlegging, but it's a very different age when you have an article in the paper that says Kalachi is an unmarried, unnaturalized Italian. That is in a news article about an arrest of somebody who's obviously presumed innocent. The last part of the article talks about looking forward to seeing him in the state penitentiary, and who's being deported as soon as possible. It's just a part of our history, and this kind of goes with a lot of things that we're thinking about, I think, more frequently these days. It's one of the reasons why the history is so very important, and why a lot of ethnic groups have their incredible bad stories of oppression and of triumph. So I look at this as a wonderful opportunity to take some stock of that, even though that part of the history is sad and repulsive, frankly, and angering to probably many. But it happened, and we've survived, and grateful that we've got folks who are willing to do so much to save and celebrate and landmark, et cetera, this particular property. So thanks.
Counselor Dickinson?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councilmember Lay. That was wonderful. I want to point out to all of us and the staff, I really like the context in which you gave the lot sizes of the neighborhood. It's one of those, like, lot size needs to be 60. That's what it needs to be. So sorry, we can't split your lot into two because it's not 120. So it's just not going to happen because the lot size should be 60. And that's just silly, right? You look at this and you're like, that's just silly. I mean, the whole block, everything around there, the lot sizes are smaller, and they want to have two small lot sizes and do what is historic. Even with the new building, it's kind of keeps with that historic feel of smaller lot sizes and smaller buildings, relatively speaking. And so I think it's just fantastic that, Deb and I served on the HPC together, and I don't think we ever saw a stay result in a landmarking. A stay always, we even talked about, like, why do we even do these anymore? What's the point if they're just gonna lead to demolition anyway? It's like, well, it gives us time to save materials, to talk about, like, maybe saving a window or this, or taking some pictures or looking, but we're gonna lose the building. We know that. The stay is just a delay. And this stay actually created some more opportunity for thought and contemplation to do something. And that's, I mean, it's a huge win, I think, for everyone. And the owner said, it's a win-win. Like, it's not just a win for the city and for history, but it's also hopefully a win for them. And I just think this is a good example of just looking at being humans in the moment and looking at what's going on and be like, well, hold on, we should be able to figure something out here. And so really, really proud of all of you. Obviously, I had nothing to do with any of it, so proud of all of you for the work that you guys did to get us to this point where I feel like it's a pretty easy decision. Such a great process that we got through to get here. So really excited to see what comes there, and I'll be supporting this. And I'll make a motion, if that's okay. I feel like we've gotten there. All right, just back, I think it's 36, but I want to.
36 and 37.
Thank you. So I will start by making a motion to approve Resolution 36.
Do you want to do both?
Sure, yeah, and I also move that we approve Resolution 37, Series 2023.
Second.
All right, I'm gonna speak now, forever hold my peace. I don't want to repeat anything that was said because I agree with it all. But one of the, I know this is hard to believe, one of the cool things about being on council is reading these reports. Because we, from Bridget Bacon, who is now retired from the city, but the work that Amelia did, and Vincent, and the intention of the historic preservation program was really to be able to do things like this and to be more creative and to maintain the things. But if you want some really good reading, read the city council report and these couple of items that we've dealt with. But there's no question that I'm going to support this. So why don't we close the public hearing and take a vote? So it'll be Resolution 36, 2023.
Councilmember Hefner?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Mayor Maloney?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickinson?
Yes.
Councilmember Lay?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Fahey?
Yes.
Thank you. Now we will vote on Resolution number 37, 2023.
Mayor Pro Tem Fahey?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Councilmember Hefner?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickinson?
Yes.
Mayor Maloney?
Yes.
Councilmember Lay?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Now we're going to move on to Resolution number 38, Series 2023, a resolution approving an amendment to the Enclave Final Plan Unit Development regarding fence regulations. It looks like we have the director to do a presentation. Are there any disclosures on this item? Yes.
I do live in the enclave, and so I am interested, but I do not back to any of the public fences, so thank you.
All right.
Oh, so do I need to recuse myself?
You do not, from a legal standpoint.
Thank you.
Thank you, City Attorney. All right, with that, we will move on. We'll open the public hearing and ask for a staff presentation.
Well, good evening, Mayor Maloney, members of City Council. Rob Zuccaro, Community Development Director for the city. I'm going to be presenting on this. As you noticed, our former planning manager and fire recovery manager, Lisa Ritchie, had worked on this. And so I just wanted to thank her for all her good work on fire recovery. She recently left the city for another job, as you all know. She's done some amazing work, so I just wanted to recognize her. She's done several of these, worked with each neighborhood individually, spent a lot of time building relationships and fostering those to get to these, win-win solutions for the neighborhood. So just a big thank you to her before I get started. So this is the first of two this evening, which is a PUD amendment to amend fence regulations for the Enclave subdivision. Over time, the city's developed these PUDs. Many of them have really specific fence regulations, either on the perimeter or some also on the perimeter and interior of the subdivisions. For design and aesthetics, it was the preferred design when these neighborhoods were developed. Certainly with the Marshall Fire, there's some sensitivity. The residents want to have some more flexibility on some non-combustible materials for fences, and so that's what's led to a lot of these fence regulations. So here's just an image of the Enclave. There were, the vast majority of the homes were destroyed. There's a lot of great rebuilding going on in the neighborhoods. For the Enclave, the PUD does regulate perimeter fences all around the neighborhood. It backs, a large portion of the Enclave backs to Davidson Mesa open space. There's fencing regulations along that whole western boundary, along the southern boundary, which borders other neighborhoods or property that's zoned for development. There's fence regulations along McCaslin as well as along the interior park. So what is being proposed is to remove the fence regulation. So the current PUD would require 42-inch California chain link, which is, I'm sure you know by now, is a wood frame with either welded wire or actual chain link fence in it, is what you typically see. So the current PUD calls for that type of fence all around the western and southern perimeter. So the proposal is to remove any fence requirements, so it would fall under the municipal code standards for that southern boundary. Along the west boundary, along Davidson Mesa open space, which is one of the most visible areas to the public, they want to keep the same aesthetic but not require wood. So still have a 42-inch California chain link, but you could have a wood or a composite wood, kind of like a Trex type wood along that area, so you'd have a similar look and feel. You couldn't, they don't want to allow a metal frame from an aesthetic standpoint along that western boundary. Along McCaslin, the current PUD would require a wood fence with brick columns. They're asking to revise that to allow a 6-foot solid fence that has a gray color equivalent, so it wouldn't be wood, and then not have the brick columns. And then interior to the park, where previously you had to have 42-inch California chain link, they're asking for a 6-foot tall fence, but 80% open. You wouldn't be allowed to, and then you could vary the design within that area. You couldn't have a chain link fence with the metal frame, kind of that standard chain link. So that's what is being requested from the neighbors, the neighborhood, and staff's presenting it on their behalf, and we are recommending approval, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for the director? Is there anybody representing the neighborhood that wishes to speak?
Hi, I'm Amy Austin, and I'm here on behalf of the neighborhood. We just wanted also to thank Lisa Ritchie, who just really helped us to come through this, but we wanted to make sure the council knew that this was a joint decision of the entire neighborhood. So we broke into 4 different groups of homeowners whose properties were along the different needs for fences. And I was the head of one of those groups. We, within those groups, came to consensus, and then we also came to consensus as a neighborhood. So we're all feeling very good about all of these decisions, and there's really no neighborhood contention. As a matter of fact, I think most of us think it was a great opportunity for us to rebuild relationship and, you know, as we're rebuilding our houses, to connect with one another. So it's been a very positive experience in a very negative time. Thank you.
Thank you for your report. Any questions for the presenters? All right, we'll go to public comments. We're going to start on Zoom, and it looks like Fontius. You're going to have to help us with your name.
Fontillas.
Okay, welcome.
Hi. Hi. Yeah. Yes. I am also from the Enclave. I echo what Amy said. All of us worked together to get to this point, and I would like to thank Lisa Ritchie for helping us. She's very diplomatic and helping us get to where we are today. So thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Carol.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thanks. This is Carol Neslund. I'm the liaison for the Enclave neighborhood to the for the Marshall Fire. And again, I would like to echo what everyone's saying about the process that Lisa led us through, and that Amy and Tina and McLean and also Christina Reisman headed up the different groups. And as Amy said, it was a very positive experience in a tough time. And I just would also like to echo that the community has come together around the fence standards and is ready to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody in the chambers who'd like to comment on this item? All right, so that will end our public comments. Now back to the council for comments, questions. A little higher so I can see it. Mayor Pro Tem Fahey.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I just want to echo what's already been said. The residents of the Enclave have always been a community. It's not just neighbors, they're friends, they work together, and they've done it again. And Lisa Ritchie was a wonderful facilitator for that process, but I just think it's a wonderful neighborhood to be in, and I'm looking forward to moving back.
Thank you. Councilor Hamilton.
I just have to acknowledge what a wonderful community we live in. And my heart feels so full right now that despite this tragic shared experience, so many have risen to come together and make decisions such as this. And I think we can all recognize from personal experiences, tragedy quite often does not bring out the best in each of us. But when I hear these stories, I can't help but feel happy in my heart and proud to live in this community. So thank you for that, and thank you to Lisa for being such a vital facilitator in all of these conversations.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councilor Dickinson, are you?
I cannot improve on that.
I don't think anybody can. So I'm going to close the public hearing. Does anybody have a motion? Mayor Pro Tem Fahey.
Thank you. I move to approve Resolution Number 38, Series 2023, a resolution approving an amendment to the Enclave Final Planned Unit Development regarding fence regulations.
Second.
Any comments, discussion? A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Lay,
Yes.
Mayor Maloney,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Fahey,
Yes.
Councilmember Dickinson,
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton,
Yes.
Councilmember Hefner.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. The motion approves. We're going to move on to resolution number 39, series 2023, a resolution approving an amendment to Cherrywood 2 final plan unit development regarding fence regulations. Is there any disclosures on this item? Seeing none, we will open the public hearing and ask for staff presentation.
All right, well, thank you again for welcoming me up here, and I'll be a little briefer on this one on the background. So this is the Cherrywood neighborhood, which is on the other side of McCaslin, also impacted by the fire. There were 15 destroyed homes, and their PUD had perimeter wood fence regulations. And then up along the Arboretum here, they had a California chain link requirement as well. So this property is just south of the police department, just to orient you. The police building is up here, and then that city-owned property is to the south of it, and then the Arboretum is just to the north here. So what this neighborhood is asking for is to keep the perimeter fence requirement where it's visible along McCaslin and Century Drive. So that would remain a wood cedar fence with a cap, which is what's called for in the PUD. But along this undeveloped property south of the police station and along the Arboretum, they are asking for some changes. Along this property here, they're asking for any fence under the municipal code, so there would be complete flexibility. Municipal code allows up to 6-foot tall fence of any material. And then along the Arboretum, they're asking for, instead of a chain link, California chain link, they're asking for that to be revised to allow a metal fence, and they have the design here. So an open style 48-inch metal fence. So that's what's being requested, and staff's recommending approval. There are representatives from the neighborhood here, perhaps online as well, and I'd be happy to answer any questions from staff standpoint.
Okay, was there anyone designated from the neighborhood to speak? It looked like what's my line kind of thing.
Hi, Maria McClure, 105 Cherrywood Lane. I'm also part of the HOA, and I'm part of the homes that burnt down. And we've talked a lot about fences, and we've come to an agreement. We definitely want to feel safe, and wood fences are not it for us. So thank you for working on this, and thank you for listening to this. And Lisa Ritchie is amazing. She did so much and has helped all of us out so much, so we're so thankful for her. Yeah, no, we're all in support of this, so thank you.
Thank you. Unless there's council questions or comments on the presentation, I'm going to move on to public comment. And first up, I have Roger Wilkerson. So I told you it'd be about an hour, and it's been an hour and 8 minutes.
That works. Roger Wilkerson, 125 Cherrywood Lane. We lost our house in the fire and in the process of rebuilding. And I just want to, first of all, thank Lisa Ritchie, like everyone does when they walk up, and the rest of the staff as well. Again, like it's been stated, we would like to have some sort of a fire-resistant fence, and so this amendment would allow us to do that. We're a little bit more open compared to some of the other PUD amendments that you guys have heard. We're aware of that. We do have an architectural review committee, so any fence that does go up along that area where it's, removing the restriction does have to go through that architectural review committee, and there is a desire to have some sort of continuity as far as that goes. It was a little bit difficult for us to get to there right now due to the varying states of rebuild and people's budgets and so forth. So we weren't able to present saying this is the exact type of fence that we would like to put up. But again, there is an interest to have continuity the best that we can. But I think the main interest is fire resistance. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the chambers like to comment? All right, we'll go to Zoom. Is anybody on Zoom who'd like to make a comment? All right, seeing none. Well, I didn't see that one pop up.
Just happened.
Oh, okay. All right, Don.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'd just like to point out that pets and some of the artificial fences will melt, and if they get hot enough, it's my understanding, I haven't researched this, that they will catch fire. So I just thought I'd point that out. I should have pointed it out on the previous one. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. Anyone else on Zoom? All right, seeing none, we're going to move on to council questions and comments. Councilor Dickinson, thank you. The height of your hand, I could tell you were.
I would move that we approve resolution number 39.
Second.
Councilor Lay.
Yes. This is another example of great teamwork in the neighborhood, and I know this neighborhood well, and I know that there's great concern about being, abutting that open area, because people had to see the fire come right toward their houses during that period. And I'm glad that you've, as a group, have come to at least some general conclusions and some agreements as to how to proceed. And I know that that may not have been easy, but I appreciate the work that it took, and I appreciate the resolution that you've come to, and I'm going to support this.
All right, thank you. I'm going to close the public hearing and call for a roll call vote, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Fahey?
Yes.
Councilmember Lay?
Yes.
Councilmember Hefner?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickinson?
Yes.
Mayor Maloney?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
All right, motion for resolution number 39, series 2023 passes. Next up, we have an executive session, and I'll turn it over to the city attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. As noted on the meeting agenda, the city manager is requesting an executive session for the purpose of discussing real property acquisitions and dispositions pursuant to Section 5-2C of the Home Rule Charter and CRS Section 246402-4A, specifically as to appraisals and other value estimates and strategy. Prior to entertaining any motion, the city clerk will read a statement required by the city code.
It is the policy of the city to conduct public business in meetings open to the public. While in executive session, it is inappropriate to take straw votes, keep minutes, or make any final decisions. It is the duty of each council member to ensure executive sessions are conducted in strict compliance with this ordinance, state and federal law, and any applicable provisions of the state and federal constitutions. If at any time the scope, nature, or parameter of this executive session goes beyond the publicly stated topic, it is the responsibility of the city council to terminate and cease any further deliberation within the executive session and return to the public meeting. Only those topics described in city ordinances may be discussed in an executive session. Those topics are summarized as follows. Where federal or state law requires the information being discussed remain confidential. Certain personnel matters involving only employees directly appointed by the city council and other personnel matters upon request of the city manager or mayor. Consideration of water rights and real property acquisitions and dispositions, but only as to appraisals, value estimates, and strategy, and legal consultation with an attorney representing the city with respect to pending litigation.
Regarding the authority for the executive session, Section 5-2C authorizes an executive session for the purpose of discussing real property acquisitions and dispositions, but only as to appraisals and other estimates of value and strategy. An executive session for this purpose is also authorized by the Open Meetings Law, Section 246402-4A of the Colorado Revised Statutes. The request involves discussion of a potential purchase of property located within the city. And with that, Mayor, you may entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion as follows. I move to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing real property acquisition and dispositions. And the executive session will include City Manager Jeff Durbin, Community Development Director Rob Zuccaro, Economic Vitality Manager April Kroner, Donna Capel with Trestle Strategy Group, John Koval with Coburn Partners, and City Attorney Kathleen Kelly. Do I have a second to the motion?
Second.
We have roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Lay,
Yes.
Councilmember Dickinson,
Yes.
Mayor Maloney,
Yes.
Councilmember Hefner,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Fahey,
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton.
Yes.
The city council will now adjourn to executive session. Oh, nothing. All right, we've returned from executive session, and the city attorney has a report.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Council, as noted on the meeting agenda, the executive session was for the purpose of discussing real property acquisitions and dispositions, and the City Council had such discussion. There's no follow-up at this time.
Thank you very much. Now we'll move on to the city attorney's report.
And I have no report. Thank you.
All right. Next is council comments, committee reports, and identification of future agenda items. Councilor Hepner.
I have one, which is we received a really interesting email from the Downtown Business Association asking us to consider studying possible either seasonal or even year-round closure of Main Street to cars. Not to do it, just to study it. And I think the Downtown Business Association asking for that particularly struck me as a reasonable request, given how hard they were impacted by the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic. And I would like to suggest to all of you that we take that up at a future council meeting.
Okay, that was one of the items that was brought up during the work plan discussion. Are you suggesting we discuss that in 2023, or we put it on our work plan?
I don't know that I have a particular view, but I would like to do it before. Obviously, we wouldn't be considering it for summer of this year. It would be considering it probably for some time in '24.
Okay, so and we can have that discussion because we are going to talk about the work plan again because we have to prioritize the items. That was an item I think had 2 people had mentioned it.
Great.
And so we can discuss at that time when we do that. If we put it on the work plan, we could say it needs to be the beginning of 2024. We don't have the director of community development here anymore, but that's probably something that we would want to have some analysis on because many cities have done this and there's a lot of data out there that would help inform us.
Yeah, so I think that the suggestion from DBA was to undertake some type of study and really gather the information to make an informed decision, unlike what happened during COVID, where it was sort of a reaction to an emerging circumstance, do it in a considered and thoughtful and planned sort of way.
Yeah.
So.
All right, well, we will, I think we'll just make sure we take that up in the work plan discussion, which is, when do we have that, when do we are anticipating having that discussion?
Maybe the first week in July, or I guess it'd be the 3rd week in July, however July works out. With the 4th, because of the 4th? Okay. We're working on it.
Okay, well, so we would do the prioritization of the work plan stuff and include that as part of the discussion. Is that acceptable?
That works for me.
Great. Did you have anything, Councilor Lee?
Yeah, I was just going to, I agree with Councilman Hefner. What I was going to suggest is to the extent that the EVC could be helpful in doing some of this, that's a very good kind of deep dive place. I haven't talked with folks on staff about that, obviously, but it's there may be some ability to take pressure off the council schedule to the extent that that's important. It puts it onto staff's schedule if we choose to go forward. But that's another, we can talk about that if you want at some point. But I just wanted to offer that up as an idea.
First, we'll determine if it's a priority. If it is, then we'll determine the action, the process. City Manager, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I just want to clarify that the LRC is working on funding a downtown coordinated streetscape plan that you guys have heard about. And there has been some conversation about including the potential closure of Main Street in that plan. Rob and I have talked about this at some length, and we have so much work to do in terms of the downtown streetscape, benches, tree grates without trees, all these type of things. The Main Street closure would be a big distraction to that, so we do not have that in the scope for that reason at this point in time. it's a better conversation to have in a different kind of a format. And so just wanted to clarify that I see those as two separate and distinct kind of processes, just so you're aware of that.
All right, thank you. Other items? Counselor Dickinson?
I have a new item, but I'll just comment on that last one as well, is that I was about to say, like, I think it's also a really good topic for the LRC to, take on. So whether it's separately or part of that, I actually think it's kind of like repaving the roads and then tearing them up for sewer lines. I would hope we wouldn't be doing a whole streetscape plan without considering potentially changing the way we use the street, right? That would be a bad order if we end up doing something major. But the other item I just want to bring up is it's really nice to be back, and I really appreciate all of you for your patience with me being a Zoom participant, and what that did to the room and what have you. It was difficult on my end, but I know in some ways it was difficult on your end as well. So I just want to appreciate all of you for allowing me to, what I felt like was participate fully in the conversations and really feel like I didn't really miss a beat with the things we were doing here. I'm also really excited to bring some things back from my adventure, things that I learned and things that I experienced and all of that. And I think it will. I don't know how I will do that. It is a mystery to me at this moment, but I know that one thing that was really profound that does relate to what we do is just the sense of community and what I found in the community I established there and how it relates to the community that we have here and just how universal that is and how important that is. And I think our roles as leaders in this city, which I actually, for some reason, bristle against, like, I'm just on council, but we're leaders in this city, and the way in which we engage in community and in belonging, and we're doing that with EDI work, and we're doing that with a lot of things, but how we foster community in conversation, in policy, and in action, I think is really important. And so I don't have some like, and so therefore we must do X. Just that, like, I really have a deeper appreciation for how critical belonging is, and how universal it is for all of us in all of our different experiences. And I hope that lens comes through in meeting after meeting for years and years as we're discussing things. And so, yeah, I really do hope that my adventure benefits all of us in our community, this body and our residents. But I don't know how yet, but it will, I swear. But thank you for just let me say that. And I love that it was like, it's just us. There's no one watching. We did like an hour executive session.
We have 4 people on Zoom.
Oh, hey guys.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway.
It's good to have you back. Counselor Lay.
It occurred to me after we kind of launched into the regular agenda that it might have been nice for me to say welcome back to you as fellow council member from Ward 1. I remember back in December when we met with the ward, and part of it was, how people feel about your being away physically for a few months. And I remember just how very supportive they were of your doing what you did. And I appreciate what you did, because we've had some long and really interesting talks about it. And I think we're going to probably have a lot more, I suspect, before it's over. And, anything all of us can do or any of us can do to ease your transition back to this forum, don't hesitate to ask. But I want to thank you for doing what you've done, which was you managed to get up in the middle of the night and stay awake and actually stay very much engaged. I don't know that I could have done that, and I appreciate your being able to do that and work in your schedule to do that, because it would have been we would have missed a great deal if you hadn't participated that way. So, and I know it was challenging in many ways. And the fact that you only missed, I don't know whether it was one meeting or one meeting because of the time change perhaps, but that's, to me, a pretty amazing testament to being committed to this community while you were committed to another. So, welcome back.
Welcome back. So I have one thing. Staff has no items for discussion on June 13th study session and ask council to cancel the meeting. So we're canceling next Tuesday. All right? All right. Meeting's adjourned.